Hello everybody and welcome to this Cruinniú DLR Dunleary Rathdown Libraries event with us, makermeet.ie. So today we're going to do a very simple project, but it's a lot of fun and very easy to do, don't worry. So we're going to do a superhero flyer. And really all that means is we're going to create a superhero and you're going to create your own superhero. And then we're going to get that superhero just to fly. So the only materials that you really need are, if you downloaded the template, which is great, you can get that template. And that just looks like this. I have one here. So this is the template that you'll need. So this is an A5 size template, which is kind of half of an A4 sheet. Then you're going to need a pair of scissors and just something to color with as well too. It doesn't really matter what it is. It can be colored pencils or colored markers, things like that. So just something to color your superhero with. And then the very last thing that you're going to need in order to make it fly is a straw. So you'll just need a straw. Now it doesn't really matter what kind of straw. Most straws today would be paper straws. I happen to have a plastic one here, but that's okay. If you have one that has kind of a curve at the end, that's actually a little bit better, but it won't make any difference if you don't have that. And then one more thing, my apologies, is just probably a glue stick in order to put it all together. And that will be very straightforward and very easy, I promise you. So we have a kind of a chat facility there, which I'm keeping an eye on. So just in case anybody has any questions, you can put it into the chat and I'll see that come up. There is a small delay probably, but I would see the chat come up and I can answer your questions and things like that. So the only other thing then to tell you is this will take probably about a half an hour at most. As I said, it's a very simple project in this case, so it won't take that long. So if you want to gather your materials and get ready, I kind of have mine here. And what I'll do is I'm going to swap over in just a moment to a camera. So I have another camera over my head, and that means you'll be able to see what I'm doing here on my own desk, and that will make it a lot easier. You can follow along that way. That should make it an awful lot easier. So go ahead and gather up your materials. If you have your materials there and ready, that's great. And we can start in just a second. Okay, so hopefully everybody has your materials there and all ready to go. So what I'm going to do is I'll swap over to my overhead camera and you'll be able to see what I'm doing here then. So here I am. So this is my workspace for today, and I have a number of things here in front of me. So I have some of my materials here ready to use, and then I just have a little mat to be probably a little bit easier, so I can do some coloring and things on this so that it doesn't bleed through the paper if I decide to use some markers, and it wouldn't get on this cloth underneath. So we'll do that now. Just in case, because I know sometimes if you downloaded the template and you have printed it off, sometimes printers can do funny things, and not always does it print out the size that you want. So let me give you an example. I have here one that I did before, and I went ahead and colored that one. So I have one here, and this is one that I did before, and as you can see, in comparison to these, it's almost twice the size. It's quite big. So you can do it this size, there's no problem, but it would probably work better if it's this size. And the reason for that is the way that your superhero is going to fly is to use this straw and your breath. So this just turns out to be quite big, and it's hard to give a big burst of breath in order to make this superhero fly. But this one should be fine. So we'll put this chap off to the side there, and we'll bring this one here. So the very first thing you have to do is, if you have printed off the template and you have it here, then all you have to do is just start to color it in. If you haven't printed off the template, that's absolutely fine. You don't need to worry. Just get yourself a sheet of paper and you can draw your own superhero. And as you can see here, I have a front here and I have a back here. So if you're going to draw your superhero, just know you need two different pieces. So what I might even do, just to make it easier, is I might just take my scissors, and you can follow along with me if you like, and I might just cut these two sheets in half so that I have two separate sheets, because we're going to put those together in a moment, and that would be important that those two sheets go together. All right, so I'll take the back of my superhero and I'll just put it up here for the minute, and we'll take the front. Now I have some colored pencils. I kind of like using colored pencils rather than markers, only because, excuse me, I find sometimes colored pencils, you can make a better texture with colored pencils. And I'm actually going to show you a trick that we're going to do with our colored pencils, because I know one thing about colored pencils is when you sharpen them and the point breaks, it can be very difficult sometimes to sharpen them again because the point just keeps breaking. But I'm going to show you a trick that will just let you not have to sharpen your colored pencils all the time. So I'm going to start off, and I think I'm going to make the hair on my superhero. I think we'll start with brown here for me. So I'm going to start to just color this in. And what I'll do is I'll actually zoom in here just a little bit so you can see a little bit better. And so what I'm going to do is, rather than hold straight down with my pencil like this, I'm actually going to hold a little bit further up, about halfway up my pencil, so that the tip of the pencil comes out here. And I'm going to take short, nice short strokes like this, and I'm going to just gently color like this. And I know everyone tells you that you need to keep close to the edges, but that's okay. When you do that, just move your paper, and you can move in any way at all. Another way as well, which is sometimes a very useful thing to do, not only moving your paper, not your pencil or your hand, but just your paper. So you just move the paper. But another very useful thing to do is to make circular motions with the tip of your pencil. And that often means that you won't necessarily color out of the lines. And just take your time. Look, we have plenty of time. There'll be no problem in doing this in the time that we have. So I'm just going to color this superhero's hair in here brown. And sometimes what you can do is you can add little highlights as well, because, so I have this chap's hair colored here, and I think I'm just going to add in a little highlight. So I have a black one here, and I'm not going to color with it. I'm just going to put little lines in it like that. Just little tiny lines. You can see that. And that's just going to add a little bit of depth to our superhero's hair. Okay, so just a few lines like that, nothing major, that's all. We don't need to do any more than that. I think that's okay. Now, let's see. So let's go, and I think I'm going to do his body now. I think I'll do my superhero's body. So I think we'll go with some green for the body. Now, there's a lot in the body, isn't there? There's an awful lot to color within the body. So when you color, and here's going to be the trick, I'll show you. So when you color, you're going to do that. Just back and forth. But now, every now and then, not all the time, and actually I should be able to zoom in a little bit further and you'll be able to see just the tip of the pencil then. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to rotate my pencil just a little bit and do some more coloring. And then I'm going to rotate a little bit more and do some coloring. And what that does is that actually keeps the tip of your colored pencil, just the tip of it. It starts to keep it sharp and pointed all the time. Okay, so I will come back out and just do a little bit more coloring there. And we'll make the superhero's suit green for me. But you can certainly use any color you want. This is your superhero, and you can do this as often as you like, and you can make as many as you want, and you can even have little contests after we're done to see how far your superhero may fly. Okay, now I'm just going to zip along here, color that in. And I have, in the past, when I've been in schools, what we have done is we have taken our superheroes and we have certainly tried to see how far they can fly, but then we've also tried to make them do tricks, and that can be hard sometimes. And what you can do is you can always add on a little cape. And we've done all different kinds of capes. We've done cloth capes, but we've found that paper works a little bit better as a cape, just because that cape can then be made a little bit like wings of a paper airplane. It can actually control the direction of the flyer as well. But that might be for a different day. That might be for another day. All right, so I have my superhero's body done. So I think I'll do my superhero's arms. And I think we'll use this color. This is a nice kind of a pink color. I'm going to do that. So we have a pink and a green, which are good colors together, I think. Let's just do that. And fill in my superhero arms. And you can see when I'm coming to the corners, I'm just doing circles when I come to the corners. So that it makes it much easier for me to kind of stay within the lines. So when I come to the corner here, I'm going to start to make a circular motion like that. And gently move my pencil out until I hit the edge. And you'll find as well that some areas, that's why I like colored pencils, because some areas will be a little bit darker, some will be a little bit lighter, which is just like any kind of clothes that we wear, or our hair as well. Nothing is exactly one color. It can be very, very different. Yeah, they can be very, very different. So let's see. So we have a green and a pink. Let's see, what other color might we put in there? I think a blue. I think a blue might be nice. So I'm going to come down here and I'm going to just do a blue in our superhero's kind of legs down below here. Okay. I'll just do a blue down there. Now, I need to make a very important decision here is I want to know what kind of a logo I'm going to put in here. So I've left this purposely blank so that you can fill in your own logo. And obviously, you know some superheroes. We have the likes of Superman and Spider-Man and the Iron Man, things like that. And they all have different things kind of on their chest, don't they? So I think I'm going to actually do, let's do this. This might be nice. So I have a lighter green here. So I'm just going to put a very light shade of green here in the middle. And that'll be nice. I wonder where I'm going to have to come up with a name for my superhero as well, too. We might call him Eco-Man, Ecological Man, which would be appropriate because we're actually doing a workshop tomorrow as well. I don't know if any of you are signed up on eco-sculpture as well. So ecological sculpture. So in there, let's see, what color would I use? I might use this one. Yeah, I might use this one. And we might actually just, I'm going to do kind of a leaves of a flower. And I might use my dark green in here. And we might have a look and see if that's going to grow out a little bit from the stalk there. I'm liking that now, I think. And just use my brown just to put a couple of highlights in between my leaves. And again, I would say this is entirely your own design. You can put and make whatever you like in the design. So now I think I'm going to do, the only thing I have left to do are my superhero's hands and my superhero's face. So in this case, I think I'm going to use, because my superhero has kind of brown hair, I'm going to use a brown, and rather than go very heavy like I did on the superhero's hair, I'm going to hold it halfway down again, very long out here, and I'm just very lightly going to use very much just the side of the colored pencil. And in this case, because we have brown up here already, I don't mind actually going out to the lines. It's perfectly fine, and that will make my job a little bit easier. All we have to do is just color in like this. I might come around here a little bit and turn my paper. And as you can see, I'm going very light. And again, this is just one of those little tricks that, so you can use just one color, but that one color can make two different shades of that same color. So like that. So there we go. And we'll come down here and we'll do my superhero's hands. I'm liking this now. And after we do this, we're going to move on and we're going to do the superhero's back then as well. And that won't take very long because there's less to do there. And we'll put it all together and we'll make it fly. Do the other hand now. There we go. So that's my superhero front done. Now let's take my superhero back and let's start here. So I better start with the hair again. I'd better match up the hair. I don't think my superhero has two different colored hairs, but you never know. It's possible they might. But for the moment, I'm just going to do this and just do my superhero's hair. I think my superhero's hair might be a little bit darker down at the bottom. So these kind of pointy bits of the hair there, I'm going to press down a little bit heavier with my pencil. Okay, like that. Now, okay. I'm just going to pop over here. That's okay, just to see. No, that's fine. Nobody had any comments. That's okay. Great. And let's go through here. And again, you can kind of see when I'm coming towards the top, I'm starting kind of a circular motion here. So again, that's going to keep the tip of my colored pencil quite sharp. And so that's quite a useful thing to do. Now, and we'll come in here, we'll do loads in here, we can just fill that in like that. And let's not forget, we put some kind of streaks in the hair here, didn't we, using our black. So we'll just do the same here. Just put a few, and there's kind of a couple in there already, isn't there? You see those four there. So there's a few in there. So this will just give it a little bit of depth. We don't need to do very much at all. That's all, just like that. And again, this is the back of my superhero's neck. So here we're going to use the same color again, only this time, again, we're going to go, you see, I'm going to hold it halfway up, and we're going to go very, very lightly, as we don't want to make it look just like the hair. We want to make it a little bit lighter, so we can differentiate between the two. Now, and that's all we need to do, just there. And while we have our brown out, we may as well do the hands as well. Same thing. Back of the hands. I know these superheroes might look a little bit strange because they don't have any fingers, but that's okay. Don't need fingers necessarily. Yeah. And all we have to do now is copy our colors from the front. Well, that's really useful. So we know that. So we know that their legs, or the bottom of their trousers maybe, is going to be our blue. So we can put a bit of blue in there. And again, if you're using colored pencils, try that technique that I was showing you of just turning the pencil a little bit so that it will keep it sharpened. You don't have to keep sharpening and use your pencil up really quickly, because that's not good. Now, the body, that was our darker green, wasn't it? So we can just put that in there quite quickly, again using the side like that. Okay. And we'll come down here. It's starting to come together very well, I think. Of course, the fun bit is when we get to start to fly them as well. And I sincerely hope that there are some classes in school watching this. And I would love to see some pictures or even a wee short video of loads of superheroes flying around the room afterwards. So if there's any teachers, and if it was all right with the teacher to share some images, that would be lovely to see afterwards. We like to see things like that afterwards. So now you can just color our superhero's arms. And of course, if you do have images, I'm sure that Dún Laoghaire Rathdown Libraries, DLR Library, would very much like to see them as well too, and they might feature them on their website. We would possibly, again, if it was all right with students and teachers and parents, of course, we would put those images up perhaps on our social media. So we would put them up on Twitter, up on Instagram, and up on Facebook as well. Things like that. But only if there's permission to do so. Okay, so please, we can see the images. If you send them to us, that would be great. And if there isn't permission granted, you should tell us that so that we do not use those on social media. Now, there we go. So I have the front colored and I have the back colored. So I'm going to put my pencils away just for the moment, so we don't need those anymore. And there's that one in there. The next thing we're going to need to do is just to get ourselves a pair of scissors. So fortunately, let's see, there we go. We can put these away, all done. And I have a pair of scissors here. So what I find sometimes easier is when you're cutting out something, especially something that has maybe not straight lines, it's a good idea to not worry about cutting on the line, but just cut off to the side of the line a little bit, just off to the side, just a little bit. So I'll show you what I mean. So I'm going to carefully cut along there like this. So you can see there, I have left my space. I've left a little bit of white, and that's okay. That's all right. Now, the other thing that invariably, when people cut something out, people often try and move the scissors. And that's not always the best way. Sometimes it is, but not always. Whereas here, I'm going to keep my scissors just there, but I'm going to move my paper. So you need to use both hands together and just turn your paper and let your hand with the scissors just concentrate on cutting straight down while you turn the paper. And this would be a little bit like sewing. So if anybody is a seamstress or anybody does any sewing on a machine, this would be a similar thing as well, is that you move the fabric, not the sewing machine. So this is the same way to do it here. And it does not have to be perfect. It really does not. Okay, I'm just taking my time because the slower you go, the better it will turn out, definitely. So you get to a corner there and you just turn your paper a little bit, that's all. And then cut around there, just like that. Now, that is all done. So I have my front cut out and I have a bit of rubbish paper here. We'll scrunch that up and we'll put that off to one side to throw into the bin in a few minutes. Now let's go to the back and let's start the same thing. It doesn't really matter where you start, so I'm just going to start up here and I'm just going to cut in. And the same idea, I'm going to keep my scissors pointing forward and I'm going to move the paper as I cut. And we have a nice straight line on my superhero's arm here, so that's fine. We'll cut around my superhero's hand. I'm a bit lucky actually here that my superhero doesn't have fingers, because if it had fingers, fingers and hair are really hard things to cut out. Really, really hard things to cut out. So fortunately, while my superhero does have hair, we have kind of constrained their hair to a circle just to make it a bit generic. Because of course, your superhero does not, and in my experience, isn't always the case that superheroes are men or boys. Superheroes are often women or girls as well. Look at Captain Marvel. All these superheroes. So you can make yours any way you want. Okay, and we have another bit of paper there. Let's scrunch that up and put that off to one side. So the next section, very easy, is we have a front and we have a back. So you're just going to maybe turn your front over or your back over, it doesn't really matter, and you're going to glue one to the other. But wait a moment, don't go there yet. Okay, so before you glue that, okay, I'm going to just get a pen here and I just want to show you. Okay, I only really want you, I don't want you to go all the way in to glue. So I want you to leave about that much space inside your superhero. Now this is quite important, okay? So all this bit here, this is the bit that you're going to glue, okay? All that bit there, that's the bit that you're going to glue, all right? So you're not going to put any glue in here, all right? You're not going to put any glue in there. And furthermore, okay, when you glue it, so you can see that I'm using a mat here, so this is good. So if you have yours on a desk or something like that, then what you would do is you will have to be prepared to clean up your glue, because oftentimes what happens is when we have a glue stick, let's take the cap off this, let's open it just a little bit. We don't need to open it all the way. What happens is people put glue in here, but they don't go to the very edge. And in this case, for our superhero flyer, we do need to go directly to the edge. So I'm going to hold this with one finger, and I'm about to make a mess, but that's okay. So I'm going to put my glue stick, and it's a bit hard to see, but I'm running my glue stick halfway between the paper and outside of the edge here. So I'm getting glue over here, but that's okay. And maybe you could put a bit of paper underneath of yours so that doesn't happen. But it is important to get your glue all the way to the edge. All the way to the edge. And you don't have to put loads of glue on it, but just enough. And I find oftentimes what's a good idea is to put a little bit on and then go back and then do it again. Put another tiny little layer on, and that usually works well. So, oops, I have put my glue on there, and we put my cap back on my glue, put that off to one side, and now all I need to do is take the back of my superhero, and I'm going to put it just down on here where the glue is, and it will, of course, stick together. And this bit you can just be careful about, like that. We'll tap it down first, and we can pop it out. And I have a little tissue here, and I'm just going to wipe up that glue that I had there so it doesn't stick. And I also know the other thing about glue on a table or anything like that is that if you're using markers, glue tends to make markers run. And then you have color everywhere. You've got it all over your hands and your nose and your superhero and everything. And that's all right. So now I have that together. So I'm just going to press the edges together all the way around. Probably get a little bit of glue in my hands, but that's okay. I'm going to press all those edges all the way around. Okay, all the way around. Now, that's my superhero all stuck together. So there is the front. And if I turn my superhero over, there is the back of my superhero. Now, to make my superhero fly, and really we should let the glue dry a little bit longer, just because the drier it is, the better it will work. And you will find that tomorrow when you go to make your superhero fly, it will work even better. So what we want is on the bottom, if you remember, we did not put any glue there. We didn't put any glue at the bottom. So we just want to take that and kind of open that a little bit. And if you see, if you can make it a bit like a finger puppet, right? And if you put your finger there, you can see I have my superhero on my finger at the moment, okay? But what we're going to use instead of my finger in order to make it fly is your straw. So this is where the straw comes in, and all you have to do is put the straw where your finger was, just there. Now you can just blow into it, so I'll blow into this. I'm going to hold on to my superhero first. And the only reason I'm doing that is because that will make the inside of the superhero puff out a little bit. And that's what we want. So now we can see at the bottom, it's very easy just to slide the straw in. So what I'm going to do now in order to make our superhero fly is I'm just going to jump back to this camera here, because now you'll be able to see a little bit better, hopefully. So we're going to take that and we're going to put that there, okay? Or we can take it either way, it doesn't really matter. So we can take it like that, put the long edge of the straw there, or you can put the other edge. It doesn't really make any difference. I'm going to use the long edge, okay, to make the straw kind of go towards the head of the superhero, all right? And then to make it fly, and this bit is going to be difficult, I'll move back a little bit so hopefully you can see the superhero fly to you, okay? So I'm going to move back here a little bit, and we're going to make my superhero, there, make my superhero fly. So you ready? And if you can see, I'm going to hold the straw here, and that's why I was saying the bendy straws can be very useful for this. So I'm going to do it now, and it definitely flew all the way over there behind my cameras. So that flew about, I'd say about 5 to 6 feet. that flew actually, because it flew all the way over and behind my cameras actually is where it flew to. So that is your superhero flyer. And I have certainly this one here, because the other one is all the way over there. I can't quite get it at the moment. And I have that one there, which is one that I did earlier. And I have a smaller version yet, which I still haven't colored and things like that. So you can make exactly the same type of superhero flyer for yourself. And as you can see, you just need very basic materials, just a couple of sheets of paper or even one sheet of paper. So try different things. Don't use my pattern, okay? Don't do that. Try coloring your own superhero and try and make a front and a back for your superhero. And then try maybe adding some paper onto it as well at the back for some wings, okay, to make it see how it might fly a little bit easier, or maybe it would fly to one side, or maybe it would just nosedive, or maybe it would go straight up in the air. You don't know. Okay, so that's to experiment with that when you make your superhero flyer. But that's pretty much how to make it. It's very straightforward. There isn't a lot complicated in that. And the lovely thing is that you can make those and make them in any way that you want. So you could experiment with making your own designs rather than using my template and things like that. So that would be a very easy thing to do. So let me just jump over here and see, anybody have any comments? Some of them are flying around our classroom. Okay, that's great. Okay, all right, so that kind of brings us to the end of our workshop, and I hope that you enjoyed that. So just to tell you again, or maybe I didn't quite explain at the beginning of it, is that we are Maker Meet, and what we do is we do workshops like this in schools for teachers and for students, of course. We do a wide variety of workshops, and we have some coming up further for Cruinniú 2021, and they're all online and they are all free. So anybody can join in and watch them. They are on our YouTube channel, and we will be streaming all of them via YouTube Live. Later today, we have a juggling workshop, so I'll be doing some juggling. Tomorrow, we have an eco sculpture workshop, which is eco for ecological sculpture. So all you need for that is just a bottle, just a washed water bottle, small one, and just literally some rubbish. Any kind of rubbish that you have around your house. You can look in your bin, but if you're going to look in your bin, just be sure that you use a pair of gloves and there's nothing dangerous or kind of too icky in your bin. And you can look around your house maybe for things that are going to be thrown away. And then on Friday, we have another flying workshop on Friday, and that is for Let's Fly. And we're not going to be using superhero flyers for that one, but we're going to be doing paper airplanes. I know that everybody knows how to make a paper airplane, but we're going to be doing some very different kinds of paper airplanes as well too, including the paper airplane that has the world record for flight. One that has flown as long as it possibly can and holds the world record. So we're going to make that one as well. And then coming up on Saturday will be two other workshops as well. We're going to do a light up a paper circuit workshop in which we light up a lighthouse, and we're going to do a magnetic movable monster workshop where we're going to make some monsters, and those will have their arms and their legs and their antennae or head or hair or anything like that move. And then when you're done, you can just put a magnet on the back and stick them to your fridge as well. So if you have any questions or anything, please throw them into the chat. Let's just have a quick look here. Nope, I don't see any other questions. So I have been Chris Reyna with makermeet.ie. I hope you have enjoyed the workshop, and I hope you have a lovely day. So until the next time, as we like to say, to engage, explore, and